Welcome back to the channel. This is Trinity Storm and you are watching second part of What If Naruto Has a Counter Personality. If you enjoy this video, please like, share and subscribe to the channel. Now wasting no more time, let's start the story.
6 months after Naruto graduated, he and his team were on their way to training camp when they saw a ninja with a sand village band touching three boys inappropriately. From what Naruto could tell, the man was wearing a black jumpsuit and carrying a puppet on his back. Behind him was another ninja, a blonde teenage girl who, strangely enough, was wearing a miniskirt. Naruto thought that she wanted to show off her perfect legs. "Hey, leave them alone," Sakura told the bully in black overalls who was bothering the kids, grabbing the leader by the collar. Temari and Kankuro were two of the three siblings in the arena, but Gaara was not there. Even with all the changes, it didn't look like Orochimaru's plans for the blade would change. Naruto didn't wait for Kankuro to free the boy, who was the grandson of the third, because he already knew who he was. He made 5 copies of himself so that 2 of them would attack, 2 would block, and 1 would use the blink technique to run away from Konohamaru and his team. When Kankuro saw that clones were coming after him, he thought they were weaker than they were and tried to fight back with a weak kick. The 2 clones easily avoided the attack and then fought back half-heartedly, knocking Kankuro back a few meters. The group wanted to fight back after they were attacked, but Sasuke was already behind them and had his kunai pointed at Kankuro's neck. This stopped them from fighting and made Temari grimace. "Who are you?" asked a voice from behind a fence, coming from a tree. Gaara was hanging upside down from a branch of a tree. "We are Team 7. My name is Sakura, and this is Sasuke and Naruto," Sakura said, keeping her guard up as she made sure Konohamaru's group was safe behind her. "Also, you?" "Their ninja badges show that they are not from the Leaf," said Sakura as she looked at them. Gaara didn't say who he was. Temari just turned his head, and Kankuro got mad, so Gaara left without saying anything. Sakura called them Maleducados. "I'll remember them," Gaara said, then turned to his own team and asked, "Do you want to die?" Gaara yelled at his brothers, and when they saw how serious he was, they shook and ran away quickly. "If there are ninjas here, it's because the Chunin exams are about to start," Naruto told Sakura, who he had already told this to before. "These 3 are going to show up for the test. The blonde woman and the guy with messy hair aren't that dangerous, but the one with red hair is just like me. When it's your turn to face him, be careful. Sakura, you run away, and Sasuke, use Chidori or Rasengan to break through his defense." Naruto told him, "Don't waste your time trying to hit him, because it won't work." Sasuke and Sakura understood his warning about Gaara because they knew he had a second chakra. Kakashi told them about the Chunin exams and told them that he had signed them up. He also told them that some Chunin would soon be evaluating them, so they shouldn't kill anyone who attacks them. He told them to be careful because he knew what they could do and that no Chunin, not even Sakura, could beat them. After a week, they were tested, and Naruto beat up Iruka, who was pretending to be a swordsman and saying he had taken Sasuke and Sakura. Even though Naruto knew he was talking nonsense, he made 10 copies of himself and sent them to beat him up while he went on his way. So, they got to the day of the test, which was at the school for ninjas. As they walked through the hallways on their way to the test site, they saw a group of people trying to get into a classroom, but 2 bullies were standing in their way. Naruto already knew what was going on there, so he didn't stop when he saw Rock Lee, who was easy to spot with his green expandex, Totume cut, and big eyebrows. Naruto didn't want to be a part of what happened next, so he told Sakura and Sasuke to pass by quietly. Rock Lee yelled, "Stop!" And Naruto felt like crying. After a sad confession of love to Sakura and a challenge to fight with Sasuke, they came down again a few minutes later. Now, their group was in front of Rock Lee's, and next to it were their teammates, Tenten, a girl who wore bows and was an expert with weapons, and Neji, a genius from the Hyuga clan who was cursed by a seal that put him in the hands of the main branch of his clan. Neji didn't seem interested, and Tenten told Rock Lee that his sensei would punish him if he got too excited. Rock Lee told her that everything would be fine, and he walked forward. Sasuke walked forward and attacked at the same time. In the original story, Sasuke didn't know how strong Rock Lee could be. He also hadn't trained his taijutsu very hard, and he thought that his Sharingan had just started to wake up. Now, though, they had been training hard for 6 months, and Sasuke had found his Sharingan again since they graduated. This put him a level above Rock Lee, even though he wasn't using it at the time. After about 5 minutes of even fighting, Naruto realized that this guy really was a genius. Even though Sasuke was using the Sharingan, this fight should have been easy for Rock Lee to win. His clone's 6 months of hard physical training and taijutsu practice were enough to match Rock Lee, who had been practicing hard every day for a year because he had graduated the year before and had been trained by Guy. Use the Sharingan to beat Rock Lee, Sasuke. Sakura was glad that Rock Lee was good, but not good enough to fight Sasuke in taijutsu. She cheered and let out a sigh of relief. Naruto smiled and nodded. I stole his idea of using weights, Naruto said helplessly, leaving Sakura dumbfounded as she realized what he meant. When Sasuke heard him, he quickly moved back, while Rock Lee and his team looked at him with surprised faces. Sasuke ground his teeth when he realized how stupid he had been. Even though he was ready for the test, the weights he carried were light. On the other hand, Rock Lee always brought the most weight with him. Sasuke gave Rock Lee an angry look. Take off the weights if you want to keep going, he said grumpily. He wasn't going to fight someone who was only going to be himself. No, said Tenten, making a menacing face at Rock Lee. Naruto remembers that Rock Lee didn't even take off his weights when he needed to defend himself. He was very loyal to his master, who made him stop using his limiters by giving him strict rules. Then I'm leaving, Sasuke said angrily, feeling like he was being put down. Rock Lee quickly took a weight off his calf and threw it away as he said, "No, sorry, I'll take the weights off." As it fell, the weight broke the floor, and Sakura's eyes were about to pop out of her head. It's a scary thing. Sakura begged Sasuke, "Don't fight him." Sasuke laughed, but Rock Lee seemed to go right for Sasuke's heart. Rock Lee said, "Sakura-chan." As he looked at Sakura. "Sasuke, get your things together. It's time to leave." Rock Lee has to get beat up, Naruto said. The next second, there was a big turtle there. Rock Lee got scared when he saw it, and Naruto started walking up the stairs. Rock Lee's reaction told Sasuke that the fight was over, so he hurriedly got his things together. "These are strange," whispered Sakura as the turtle scolded Rock Lee and they quickly ran away. Rock Lee was getting beat up for not listening to his sensei, so they went to the classroom where the test would take place without any trouble. When they walked in, there were dozens of people staring at them and trying to scare them, but after meeting Zabuza, who was a JNIN, a bunch of genin were nothing to worry about. Ino sneaked up on Sasuke and hugged him from behind. Naruto let out a sad sigh because, unlike Sakura, this girl was really cute. But it seemed that if you wanted to get girls' attention in this place, you had to have a face like a turd. Naruto mentally shook his head. He was an older man, so he wasn't going to let his hormones make him want some skinny girls. Shikamaru and Ji, who were working with Ino, were hiding behind her. Kiba, Shino, and Hinata then showed up. "Hello, Naruto," Hinata said with a smile and a little bit of a blush. They were already good friends, and she was used to being with him. She was still half hidden by Kiba. Naruto walked up to her, shoved Kiba out of the way, and looked at Hinata. Hinata missed 3 of her training sessions, so Naruto asked her, "Where have you been?" Naruto, Hinata was at a loss for words. "We were practicing," Kiba growled. "You dirty dog, I was talking to Hinata," yelled Naruto, who hated being interrupted because Hinata could answer for herself, she just needed to calm down a bit. Kiba grunted, but a man with ashy, white hair came up to them and stopped him. He wore glasses and looked like a normal, harmless nerd, but it was Kabuto, and he made sure by saying his name. Naruto put himself in the way of this small snake and Hinata. When Sasuke looked at him, Naruto made a small move that only he and Sakura understood. Sasuke was as tense as he could be, and Sakura hid behind him. The others also moved away from Kabuto when they realized something wasn't right. Sasuke growled, "Get out." "Hey, I'm..." Again, Sasuke said, "Get out," while putting his hand on his gun bag. This time, Kabuto threw up his hands and pretended to be sorry as he walked away. When he was far away from them, Sasuke relaxed and walked toward him without taking his eyes off of Kabuto. He is an offensive medical ninja, and he smells like the blood of both humans and animals. He shouldn't have less skill than Kakashi-sensei. "I don't think he's up to anything good by pretending to be a newbie," Naruto said, then turned to look at Hinata. "Hinata, that person seems harmless, but he is actually very dangerous. Stay as far away from him as you can if you meet him. He seems to have no morals and is a very bad person. He is a killer with a cold heart," Naruto warned. "What a fool. I can smell better than you, and I can't find any sign of blood on him. Doesn't it just smell like old books, Akamaru?" Kiba said something, and Akamaru barked to back him up. "Hinata, if you see that guy, send this dog in front of him and run as far away from him as you can. His safety is better than yours. If he gets killed," Naruto said, "we'll take the puppy and eat roast dog." Kiba yelled, "You!" and tried to hit him, but Naruto turned away and didn't look at him. "Hinata, you should also avoid a short boy with cute panda eyes and red hair. He is always angry and has a lot of strength. He's not a bad person, but he gets very angry very quickly. You don't have to worry about the others, so you can act with confidence." Naruto came to an end. "What about that monster with the thick eyebrows?" Sakura asked. She seemed to think that Rock Lee was another monster she should be warned about. "Hinata does not have any trouble with Rock Lee. He only knows taijutsu, and he wouldn't fight Hinata. He might beat up her dog, though, but that doesn't matter," Naruto said in a casual way. Kiba tried to attack him again, but Naruto didn't look at him and turned away. Sakura asked, "Do cute eyes of a panda?" as she looked at the crowd. "Oh, that's right, he does have panda eyes," Sakura exclaimed when she saw Gaara in the crowd. Gaara looked away. "Yes, he does have cute panda eyes, but he doesn't seem to have anger attacks." "He's very cute," Ino said as she looked at Gaara. But all of a sudden, Gaara stood up, and his calm aura and eyes turned murderous. He walked up to the group in the blink of an eye. Gaara growled, "Who has panda eyes?" And everyone around him felt his murderous energy. Sakura and Ino knew right away that they had made a mistake, so they hid behind Sasuke. "Hinata, let's leave these loud people behind. It's not smart to hang out with strangers, because someone might think we're on the same team," Naruto said, but he turned around to look at Shino. Naruto said to Shino, "Let's go," as if he were just another teammate. When Sakura saw that Naruto was leaving them without a second thought, she scolded him. Gaara glared at him and asked, "Where do you think you're going?" It was a quick move, but he used most of his chakra to do it. He couldn't fight well. Naruto put Hinata back in front of him. Temari and Kankuro ran over. They looked scared. "Calm down, Gaara. I'll kill you if you don't shut up." Gaara snarled, which stopped Temari in her tracks. Gaara seemed to think that killing people was the answer to everything. "Gaara, you look too worried. You need to get more rest." "Others said you look like a cute and cuddly panda," Naruto said calmly. "I'm Naruto, it's nice to meet you," he said, extending his hand. Gaara was about to attack, but he stopped when he saw that he was offering him his hand. A moment later, he gave a sneaky smile. "No." Kankuro said in alarm, but it was too late. Gaara grabbed his hand, and the sand covered it. Gaara smiled as the sand covered his hands and forearms, but Naruto smiled back, which confused Gaara. He then tensed up and took a few steps back, putting himself on guard. The sand that had covered his arms before followed him. When Gaara pulled back, he did it too quickly, and for a second, Naruto's forearm was covered in red chakra that disappeared right away. The ones who were paying attention saw this and knew that Gaara had tried to crush Naruto's hand, but the red chakra protected him. They knew there was something very strange about that chakra, but only Gaara knew what it was, because Naruto felt his beads shudder as he sensed Kurama. "Brother Panda, we don't have to fight," Naruto said with a smile. "If you are cute, you are cute. No matter how much you growl, that won't change," he said. His and Gaara's friends blinked, and even Gaara couldn't believe Naruto kept calling him a panda and a cute one at that. Gaara was about to fight again, but the quizmaster stopped them and told them that anyone who tried to fight would be kicked out of the exam. The fight ended with gnashing of teeth. The test instructor did not change. It was still Hibiki, an expert in torture and psychological intimidation. Naruto wondered if it would be the same test he remembered when Hinata stood next to him. As Hibiki explained the rules, Naruto wondered if anything would be different in this test. He didn't want everything to be the same because if that happened, many people would die, including the old Hokage. If things kept going this way, Naruto would have to find a way to warn him. Naruto had no trouble with the questions because they were high school level and he was a college student who had already studied math just in case. However, the rest of the younger and even the older ones had obvious problems, and some were disqualified when they were caught trying to copy. After a while, the supervisor told everyone to stop the test and pay attention to him because he would ask the last question. As soon as he spoke to threaten everyone with this new question, Naruto confirmed that it was the same one he was already expecting. After a minute, he stood up with determination, which surprised everyone. "Old man, do you want to scare us?" Naruto asked. "Just ask that question and stop avoiding it." "We're going to die of old age here," Naruto said, then crossed his arms and sat down. He liked that a lot of people passed this test, because if the second test was like he remembered, it would be easier for them to find what they were looking for. Hibiki had only been mean for a minute, but he didn't get anyone to stop. He blinked and Naruto's plans were clear to him in a second. But it was too late, because even the most stupid people could understand what he said and knew that the 10th question was a fake. So, they settled down in their places with resolve. Hibiki looked at him, but all Naruto did was blink. He said he could fail them all, but that wasn't quite true, and he needed proof. As for him, they couldn't fail him for figuring out a bully's plan. If anything, they could pass him right away. After a minute, Hibiki had no choice but to pass everyone, so the only people who were kicked out were the ones who were caught cheating and messed up. Those who passed were taken to the entrance of the Forest of Death, and Naruto said that the second exam hadn't changed either. Even the leader of the Jonin, Anko Mitarashi, wore a beautiful Mayan. The second exam was a survival test, and Naruto saw Orochimaru, who was pretending to be a team teacher. He thought he would be there for Sasuke because he was crazy about the Uchiha. What was the plan? Naruto asked his group in a whisper while they waited. "How did you know this was the second test, Naruto?" Sakura asked again in a quiet voice. "That doesn't matter. What's important is that someone is coming for us, and if we can't get away from him, something bad will happen," Naruto said. "Who is coming to get us?" asked Sakura with a shiver. Naruto said, "It's someone very dangerous, but I can't say who it is right now. Just follow the plan, and everything will work out," and they waited for a few hours. The test was easy. You had to walk 10 kilometers through the forest to get to the central tower. If you got there in less than 5 days, you passed. To pass, they would be given a scroll and have to get a different one, since there were 2 models. Any group that showed up without a member or with a member who couldn't fight would be wiped out. There were 3 different ways to get into the Forest of Death. They just picked a door at random and were the first ones to go through it. Once Naruto was inside, he smiled and made 1,000 clones. He then split them into more than 300 teams 7 and sent them out into the forest. "Get on my back, Sakura," Naruto said. "I'll carry you half the way, and Sasuke will carry you the other half. We'll run as fast as we can," while Sasuke stretched and nodded. Sakura sighed and, biting her lip a little sheepishly, climbed onto Naruto's back. She knew that the two of them were much stronger than the other graduates, including her. "I'm keeping an eye on you," Sakura told him, looking him in the eyes. She then used a transformation jutsu to make herself look like a boy who was also taking the exam. Sasuke and Naruto also did what the rest of their team did, and then they jumped and ran at full speed toward the middle of the forest. 2 hours later, one of his clones went away to bring him some news. "We have the scroll, so now all we have to do is wait." Naruto cut him off as one of his clone teams was being attacked by a large snake, which quickly left when it realized they were clones. Naruto looked at the tower in the middle and said, "He found one of my clone teams." "What's his name?" Sakura asked with some worry. She still looked like the same guy she did before. "One of the 3 legendary Sannin, Orochimaru, is now a renegade ninja. He used to be a Sannin." Naruto gave them a copy of the bingo book, which had a list of the most dangerous renegade ninja from each village. When Sakura saw the information about Orochimaru, she shivered from head to toe. Sasuke asked, "Why is Orochimaru after us?" "Because he's crazy about the Uchiha and the Sharingan," Naruto said in response. Sasuke got tense. "Calm down, he doesn't want to kill you." "He just wants your body," Naruto said, but Sasuke winced. Sakura was shocked and asked, "What?" "Orochimaru has a jutsu that lets him change his body. This is how he stays young even though he is in his 40s. He now has the body of a woman." "That strange woman at the gates with the long tongue and snake face was him," Naruto said. Sakura was horrified and said, "How awful." Naruto nodded. "So, it's best to keep us out of harm's way. He's already attacked another group of clones, so I think he's starting to realize that it won't be easy to find us," Naruto said. "Naruto, we have to tell someone about this," Sakura said. "If we do that, they'll call off the test," Naruto said. Sasuke nodded, and Sakura made a face. "Fools, our lives are more important than the test," Sakura scolded. "The tower is just a few steps away, and there are teachers there. In fact, they should already know we're here and be keeping an eye on us," Naruto said. "So that's why you wanted to come here," Sakura said, realizing what was going on. Naruto gave a nod and a smile. "When we get here, Orochimaru can't reach us, and my clones will bring us the scroll we need to pass, so there won't be any problems. Orochimaru can keep playing with my clones as long as he wants, but I think he'll soon realize it's a trap and leave on his own," Naruto said with a smile. 2 hours later, a group of clones with scrolls came to them. They all jumped at once into the central tower to undo the transformation techniques and open the scrolls, which surprised Iruka. "Sensei, are there bathrooms here?" asked Naruto. Naruto didn't undo the clone technique and kept playing with Orochimaru. After 5 teams of clones attacked him, Orochimaru realized they were just playing and gave up. His team was the first to arrive, since 10 kilometers was nothing and any of them could run it in half an hour or less. The problem was that they needed another scroll, so they had to ambush 1 or more teams, since they couldn't be sure that the first team they attacked would have the scroll they needed. Naruto had a big advantage in this test because he had a lot of clones. While he and his friends ran as fast as they could to safety, his army of clones got scrolls and annoyed Orochimaru. Hinata showed up on the 3rd day. She was a little dirty from sleeping on the floor, but she wasn't hurt. Naruto was happy to see that she was okay and gave her a hug that made her face turn bright red. Then, he pretended to want to kiss her, but Hinata didn't fight back and passed out. Naruto blinked and then put Hinata on the floor. "Everyone step back," he said seriously, looking at everyone. Hinata was just starting to wake up when he said, "I'm going to give her mouth-to-mouth resuscitation." She passed out again. Sakura put her hand to her face, Sasuke grimaced, and Kiba was growling, but Shino stopped them from fighting. Naruto saw that poor Hinata had passed out. He knew he was going to hell for making fun of her, so he hurried to get down on his knees and fan her. "I'm sorry, Hinata, it was just a joke," Naruto said with some shame. "You're an idiot." Sakura yelled at Hinata as she ran to help her. 2 hours later, Naruto invited Hinata and the rest of his team to a barbecue. He made a place for her next to him. Hinata, I heard that your sensei is a genjutsu-skilled JNIN, Naruto said as he gave Hinata a piece of meat. Hinata nodded and ate quickly. Naruto asked Hinata, did she teach you guys anything? Hinata said yes again, and Naruto sighed. Hinata asked Naruto, is there something wrong? Well, I shouldn't say this, but our sensei is lazy and hasn't taught us much about genjutsu. I had to talk to him to get him to teach us a couple of techniques, even though Sasuke has the Sharingan and Sakura is very smart and has chakra control that is second only to yours, Naruto sighed with regret. Hinata seemed shocked. Hinata told Naruto, I can teach you. Kiba scolded Naruto, pointing his finger at him, because it was clear what he was trying to do. You'd be more convincing if your mouth wasn't full of our meat, Sakura told Kiba, who was eating several pieces of meat at once while Akamaru sat on his head. Sasuke, like Sakura, wanted to learn genjutsu. He knew that Kakashi didn't want to teach them more jutsu because he thought they were too dangerous. They are three scroungers. Even though Kiba barked, he didn't stop eating meat. Where did they get their food? Shino, who was eating in silence, said. It came from the forest, where there are a lot of animals. I think they brought them for the test, since the place is too small for so many animals. Hinata told Naruto, your clones are a great help. I saw a lot of them everywhere. He gave her more food. Because I'm from the Uzumaki clan, I have a lot of chakra, but I only use a small amount of it, Naruto said in all honesty. Kiba asked, what is the Uzumaki clan? You were an orphan, right? Asked Kiba, not knowing what was going on. Shut up, Kiba. Sakura was angry and scolded her. Kiba choked on his own meat, and Akamaru was quick to pat him on the back. There was once a family named Uzumaki. Shino seemed to remember, I think the first Hokage's wife was from that clan. Yes, it was a big, powerful clan that was good at making seals, but it has been gone for a long time. But since they were allies of the Blade, this village honors them by putting their symbol on the vests of the CHNIN and JNIN ninja, Naruto said, pointing to the swirl on the left shoulder of his jacket. Kiba looked at the symbol and seemed to remember something, then looked at Naruto in a daze. The next day, Shikamaru, Ji, and Ino showed up. They weren't hurt or beaten, but it was clear that they had been through a lot hiding because they were covered in dust and dirt. They looked at them as they walked into the waiting courtyard. It was lunchtime, so the other participants were eating roasted vegetables with meat as they watched. When Ji came in and sat down without asking, Kiba grumbled, but Sakura brought him a plate. Hello, said Shikamaru. After a quick look and frown, he sat down, and Shino brought him a plate of food. Ino yelled at Sakura, for God's sake, where did you get meat and vegetables, and how come everyone is so clean? She couldn't seem to accept how Sakura looked. I got them out of the forest and brought Hinata some water to make her feel better, but the others took advantage, Naruto said as he invited Ino to sit down. She grimaced and walked over to where Sasuke was sitting. She sighed and took a plate, giving Sakura, who was on the other side of Sasuke, a mean look. She looked too tired to fight, though, so she chose to eat in peace. Brother Panda, if you're hungry, don't be afraid to come closer, Naruto said, and Gaara, who was 10 meters behind him, jumped. Gaara scolded, I'm not a panda. Sand started to float around him, but Naruto didn't care. He threw a plate of food backwards, which Gaara caught. He squeezed it, and it broke a little, but he didn't break it completely. After 10 seconds of thinking about it, he started to eat, even though he had his back to them. Kiba whispered to Naruto as Akamaru shook, that guy is very dangerous. He killed a group of ninjas who attacked him. Hinata gave a nod. I already told you that he has anger problems and hasn't done well in life, but he's a very nice person, Naruto said in a calm voice. You're very weird. Kiba said, he's a cold-blooded killer, and Akamaru agreed. Akamaru can smell evil chakra and evil intentions, Akamaru squeaked out, and Kiba blinked as he looked at Naruto, who was holding up a finger with a red chakra strand on the tip. Because there were so many people there, only the people around Naruto could see the finger. "You and your dog are both idiots," Naruto said, rolling his eyes. Kiba blinked, then ran quickly to find Akamaru. "He has the same type of chakra, right? Do you call him brother because of this?" Sasuke, who knew everything, asked. Naruto nodded and didn't say anything else because there were a lot of people nearby. "Did our parents tell us to stay away from you because of that chakra?" Shino asked as Kiba came back with a shivering Akamaru in his sweater. Everyone got tense. Since he was an orphan and no one had told him anything, Sasuke frowned. Naruto gave a nod. Shino asked, "Is it dangerous?" "My mother was an Uzumaki, which means she knew a lot about seals, so I haven't had any big problems."
Gaara, on the other hand, doesn't seem to be doing so well.
The fact that his chakra is leaking everywhere shows that the seal they used on him must not have been very good. "He must have a huge amount of willpower to be able to handle that," Naruto said, then went back to eating. His friends didn't ask for more, so they ate in silence as well. The second exam ended the next day, and the Hokage gave a speech about where the Chunin exams came from and how they relate to the world today. Then, it was said that the second round would be sudden death matches, and those who won would move on to the next round. Hayate, a pale guy with a lot of dark circles under his eyes, was the ninja in charge of watching over the tests. If he didn't stop the invasion of the arena and Orochimaru, he would die in a terrible way. Even though he looked sick, maybe he would still die. He might also have just had the flu and would get better soon. After explaining the rules, Kabuto decided to quit, which was a relief to the three rookie teams. "An evil killer got away," Sakura whispered. "Now only the angry panda is left," Ino whispered, and everyone looked sideways at Gaara, who gave them a murderous look and a low growl. He seemed to know that panda was being said again. "I'll kill everyone." Gaara growled, and being fed didn't make him feel better. Judge Hayate cleared his throat to stop the fight, and Gaara stepped back. There were 7 teams, and after Kabuto quit, there were 20 people left, so there would be 10 fights. When Naruto saw that the chosen fights were the same as the ones he remembered, from Sasuke to Ji and Dosu, he felt disgusted. He wondered if they had always been together or if it was just a coincidence. The room where they fought was huge, and the floor was completely clear. People watched from the top. There were both the leaders and the people who took part. Naruto sighed because the fights were different from what he was used to, and his changes were clear in them. Sasuke fought one of Kabuto's teammates in the first fight. Sasuke charged, and his opponent was slammed into the wall without even seeing what happened. Then it was Shino's turn to fight Zaku, a ninja from the Sound Village who was Orochimaru's cover. Zaku was strong and could use his arms as a cannon to fire a kind of sound blast, but Shino was one of the toughest fighters in this test, and the sound blast didn't work against him. Shino was a master of insects, which he kept in his body. The insects burrowed into Zaku's arms and ate his chakra, giving Shino a complete victory. Kankuro's next fight was against Kabuto's second partner. The latter tried to kill Kankuro by crushing him to death with a strange contortion technique, but in the end, it turned out that he had caught Kankuro's puppet instead of the real one, and he lost again. Sakura fought Ino in the next fight. Ino rushed forward to start a taijutsu fight, but Sakura used the blink to move behind her and put her right hand on Ino's head, making her pass out. Hinata said in a confused voice, "Soft fist." Sasuke watched him. Sasuke asked, "Didn't you say that it was a medical jutsu?" "They are the same," Naruto said. Kakashi sighed in frustration. "Boo. What's wrong with this tournament? Why are the fights so one-sided? This isn't a show." Kakashi told the other sensei as he gave him an embarrassed look. A minute later, they were fighting Tenten against Temari. This fight lasted longer, but Temari was able to block Tenten's throwing weapons and easily beat her. Even though he already knew what would happen, Naruto gave a grimace. It looks like Rock Lee versus Panda Brother will be the only fight that matters, Naruto said. Gaara tensed up right away, but his sensei stopped him. What? Kiba asked Rock Lee, is the big eyebrow strong? As he looked at him. Sakura said, he's a monster. Rock Lee, who was a few meters away, yelled, Sakura-chan. Kiba asked, what about Neji? His bloodline is strong against taijutsu fighters and anyone who gets too close to him, but he would lose badly against the Panda Brother, Naruto said. Kiba and Shino tightened up and looked worriedly at Hinata. Naruto noticed that Hinata hadn't shown them her new fighting technique. Naruto looked at Hinata and said, don't worry, he doesn't have a chance against her. Hinata, if you want to be the strongest in your clan, you have to take this tournament seriously, said Naruto. Hinata nodded with determination and Neji gritted his teeth. G, who was eating fried food, asked, what's wrong with him? Aren't they related? Hinata lowered her head, and Naruto didn't say anything because she didn't. The next fight was between Shikamaru and Kin. Kin had teamed up with Zaku, who had already been defeated, to help Orochimaru sneak in, and now he was acting as her sensei. Kin used an illusionary genjutsu involving a pair of bells, but she was slow to act, and Shikamaru's cunning and shadow technique beat her in a strategic match. The next fight was between him and Kiba. Kiba, if you don't want to get smashed against the wall, surrender now, said Naruto. No, I don't. Kiba was hit by the wall when Naruto lunged at him. As he got back up, Naruto told Hinata, now it's your turn. Act with determination. Hinata gave an adamant nod. When they were facing each other, Neji was very angry and took the Hyuga fighting stance. When Naruto saw Hinata acting like him, he smiled. Hayate looked worriedly at Neji, who gave off the feeling of wanting to kill. The Jonin who had also seen him was ready to act at any time. Hayate moved even closer to Neji to stop him from killing him, and then the fight started. Both of their opponents had activated their Byakugan and were ready to attack. Neji tried to close the gap by lunging forward, but Hinata used the body flicker to pull back quickly and throw Neji off guard. Hinata threw 5 chakra needles at Neji, and when he saw them, he crossed his arms to protect his face and body, which led to his loss. When he finished his attack and took 2 steps back, he realized this. This happened in a split second. Neji moved forward, and Hinata left his spot. When she came back, she was already throwing the 5 chakra needles, and Neji hadn't even moved back to her original position. Neji had to defend herself in the same attack, so she put her arms in the way. Naruto wondered why he hadn't turned to block the blows, whether it was because he didn't realize how strong the needles were or because he wasn't moving in the right way. Maybe both were true at the same time. Neji gritted his teeth as he looked at Hinata, who was 10 meters away. He put down his arms, which had been sealed so that chakra couldn't flow through them anymore. His whole offensive technique depended on chakra flowing through his arms, but since they were sealed, he could only try to strike with normal taijutsu and rely on his strength. He watched Hinata, who didn't let her guard down and held another 5 needles in each hand. She changed her taijutsu stance to a throwing one. Neji gritted his teeth in anger and displeasure, but 2 seconds later he had to give up because Hinata was already raising her hands to throw more needles at him when she saw that he didn't give up. People, especially the JNIN, stood back and watched the new soft fist technique with amazement. Guy asked worriedly, can a vest stop those needles? He didn't miss the small holes on Neji's arm that were bleeding. Soft fist was a soft way to increase chakra, but it didn't work well against enemies with armor. The needles didn't have much penetration either, so they wouldn't go through a vest without more concentrated chakra, which would be a waste since the limbs were just as good targets. Hinata and Neji went up to the balcony. Everyone was amazed by Hinata, and Neji looked like he didn't care about anything at all. Guy, who was his sensei, didn't seem to know how to cheer him up. Only Tenten was quick to tell him that everything would be fine. Naruto told Hinata, well done. This broke the shock of both fighters, since the JNIN, who knew Neji, would never have expected Hinata to beat him with just one move. Shino cheered, "Congratulations, Hinata." Then, her sensei, Kurenai, told her he was happy for her as well. The infirmary was where Kiba was still sleeping. Hayate announced that Rock Lee and Gaara would fight in the next match. Rock Lee came down with a lot of determination, and Gaara came down ready to kill. Gaara growled when Naruto shouted, "Have courage, brother panda." Sakura scolded Naruto, "You're making him even more angry." Ino was annoyed and asked, "Naruto, didn't you say not to provoke him?" "Calm down. Brother Panda knows I'm trying to help," Naruto said in a calm voice. "Right, Brother Panda?" asked Naruto. Gaara snarled, "I'm going to kill you." "You'll see how we'll become friends in the future," Naruto said with no big deal. His friends grimaced, and Gaara's group looked at him meanly because he had angered them. When Sakura saw that Rock Lee was about to face Gaara without taking off his weights, she told him to stop showing off and take them off. "Rock Lee, if you don't take off those weights, Brother Panda will make a sand sculpture of you," Naruto warned. Gaia looked at Kakashi. "Guy, pay attention to him," Kakashi said. Guy sighed and gave Gaara a thumbs up as he looked at him. Rock Lee took a step back and started to take off the weights. His body surprised everyone. Naruto didn't notice many changes in the battle. He remembered because he knew that Rock Lee's speed and strength weren't enough to break through Gaara's defenses. Rock Lee's sensei gave him permission to use the 8 Gates technique, which Naruto thought was the best taijutsu move there was. Naruto looked at Sasuke, who nodded at him without looking at him. He then turned his red 2-take eyes on Rock Lee to show that he was copying all of his taijutsu with his eyes and would then give it to him. After asking his sensei about Sasuke's eyes, Kiba said, "You guys are just a bunch of copycats." Naruto didn't have to say anything because Kiba got a strong reprimand from Sakura and Ino, who had stopped fainting, for insulting Sasuke. The teachers told them to stop making a fuss, but Sasuke didn't even blink as he kept taking notes on all of Rock Lee's taijutsu moves. Naruto watched Orochimaru, who was dressed as a sound ninja master, with bad intentions. While scary stories were going on above, Rock Lee seemed to turn into a Z-warrior. He was surrounded by a red aura, his hair was standing on end, and his eyes were closed from the effort. Rock Lee's speed was faster than Kakashi's, and Gaara couldn't even see it as Rock Lee kicked and punched all over the place. Even though he had a huge amount of power with 4 of the 8 gates open, he couldn't break through Gaara's defenses. Naruto knew that his defense could stop explosions, so Rock Lee couldn't break through it with punches and kicks. Gaara's defense was also automatic, and Rock Lee's speed wasn't fast enough to overcome it. After a minute, everyone could see what was going on. "Guy, tell him to stop trying. He only has 1 minute left of stamina, and that boy doesn't seem like the kind of person who would show mercy. He will use everything he has to attack," Kakashi said. Guy shook his head and said Rock Lee would not give up. Naruto knew this would end badly, but that didn't bother him. A few minutes later, Rock Lee realized he couldn't break Gaara's defense. He used all of his remaining chakra in a single attack, grabbed Gaara from behind, and did something like an aerial suplex, which caused an explosion as they both fell to the ground. The place was full of dust, but when it was all over, Gaara stood up with a face of murderous rage without getting hurt, while Rock Lee was on the ground with no chakra and hurting from opening 4 doors. He didn't have a body like Naruto's that could heal itself, so it would take him a few days to get better.
Gaara could see that he had already won, but Kakashi said that he didn't hesitate and attacked Rock Lee anyway, even though he couldn't move.
The judge then called the fight over. He caught one of Rock Lee's legs in the sand and crushed it in anger, while Guy and Kakashi jumped to save Rock Lee from dying. Naruto went down after everything was under control. "Make room, I'm a doctor," Naruto said as he moved through the JNIN. There were also Gaara's teacher and his brothers. Gaara had also been saved by Sasuke. Kakashi ran to him quickly because he knew he could use Kaibi chakra. Wait until we get to the hospital, he said quietly. Naruto nodded. He hadn't planned to use Kaibi chakra in front of all those people. Guy was crying next to Rock Lee as he looked at his broken leg and looked at him with hope. He had seen Rock Lee heal an eye that was supposed to be lost. No problem. Let's take him to the infirmary first, Naruto said, and Guy's eyes lit up. Rock Lee grunted in pain as he stood up with him in his arms. Let me, Naruto said, putting 2 fingers on the boy's neck. After Naruto took his hand away, Rock Lee said in alarm, I can't feel my body. When Guy held his body, it went limp. Guy asked in a daze, soft fist? Naruto gave a head shake. This is a physical thing. I touched his marrow just a little bit, which stunned his nerves and cut his brain off from the rest of his body. Don't try to copy it, because if you make a mistake, you'll stop all the organs in your body from working, Naruto said. Sakura told Naruto, that's too dangerous. If we stay here, we'll be in more danger. We should go to the hospital. Sakura, you'll be my helper, Naruto said as he led the way. The ninja turned away and looked at him with disgust as he crippled Rock Lee with a single touch on the neck. Rock Lee begged Guy Sensei, can we ask for another doctor? But Guy was already following Rock Lee and telling him to be brave. In the hospital, he and Sakura were in a hurry to get clean and put on the doctor's clothes. Rock Lee was put to sleep, and Naruto first took care of his spine. Sakura made sure he didn't bleed out and fixed up small wounds. With Kaibi chakra, Naruto only had to make sure that Lee's bones weren't broken and that his body had enough blood. The operation took 4 hours because they were careful. After everything was done, Sakura woke up Rock Lee, and Naruto opened the door for Guy and his team to come in. Rock Lee was shyly covering himself when he saw that Sakura had cut off all of his clothes and could see him completely. Rock Lee cried out, Master. He hadn't been hurt at all, but he looked very sad. Sakura rolled her eyes, then left the hospital. Naruto stayed with Rock Lee to make sure he didn't feel any pain. Other doctors also checked him out and asked him how he fixed his broken bones and damaged spine. Kakashi got him out of there for him. When Naruto and Sakura came back to the room, the fights were over and everyone had left except for Asuma's team, Kurenai's team, and the judge. When Naruto saw that his first match was against Hinata, he groaned. Naruto said to Hinata, I hope to see all of your strength. Hinata was sure. I'll do everything I can to win. Naruto shook his head quickly. Hinata, if my girlfriend beats me up in front of everyone, I'll lose face. You don't have to win. Just show how strong you are, Naruto said. Hinata and Sakura both turned red, but Hinata was embarrassed and Sakura was very angry. Before Kiba could say anything, Sakura yelled, Naruto, to tell him to stop. When Kakashi got back to the village, he told Sasuke that he would train him. Kakashi told Guy that Naruto used the 8 gates. Guy offered to train Naruto, but Naruto said no because he had other plans. Kurenai offered to train Sakura, and Sakura took him up on it, but only to teach Hinata not to let him win. The next part of the test was in a month, and they had already done all the basic training. Now they had to train in their specialties. Naruto had a plan to train a technique that would give him an advantage over his rivals, but first he had to find Jiraiya. Naruto knew the wise toad was coming to the village soon. He also knew that the arena master would kill the tournament judge, but he didn't know where. Since Kakashi was so close to Sasuke, he thought that Kakashi must have known that Orochimaru was close by. Naruto didn't know how to warn them without letting on that he knew something. He didn't know nothing, either, because he knew Hayate would die by spying on the arena ninjas. Since they were guests and had a certain area, he just had to look for them. Naruto made 100 copies of himself and sent them out to look for the messengers of the arena. He went himself to find the wise toad. Naruto knew where to go and waited at the hot springs. At dusk, Naruto was still eating some sweet buns and looking at the hot spring from across the street. When he felt something slimy coming toward the hot spring, he couldn't go home to cook, so he sent 5 clones. After he was done eating, he ran away in a different direction and hid in the woods. 2 minutes later, there were shouts and calls for guards as a shadow ran into the woods, and he gave it a double kick to the face. "Wise Toad, you're too crazy," Naruto said with a sigh as he stepped away from Jiraiya's face. Jiraiya jumped up, his face still red from the blow, and gave him an angry look. "What the hell is wrong with you, kid? Why are you jumping all over people?" Jiraiya yelled at them while making sure no one was following them. He was tall, had a strong body, and had long, white hair. He looked about 40, but his face didn't have a single wrinkle. "Smart Toad. Who the hell do you think you are calling a wise toad?" Jiraiya yelled at him in anger. He tried to catch him, but Naruto used the body flicker to jump into a tree, which made Jiraiya get more careful. "Wise Toad, I'm Naruto Uzumaki. My father was your student, and I'm here to ask you to let me sign the Toad Scroll." "I'm going to learn the Sage Mode this month," Naruto said. Jiraiya frowned and said, "I don't know you." Naruto was not sure if this guy really was old. Even in his memories, it looked like he didn't know Naruto. Naruto made a face, but it didn't matter if he knew him or not. "Smart Toad, I don't care if you don't remember me or act like you don't. Give me the Toad Scroll and the key to the 8 trigram seal, or I'll make you pay," Naruto said. In reality, he didn't need this guy's training, but that of the Toads. Also, he had to make sure he had the key to Kurama's seal, because if someone used it against him when he used his power, it could get him into trouble. Jiraiya gave him a serious look and blinked to show up next to him, but Naruto was paying attention and blinked at the same time to show up in a different tree. Jiraiya said, "Brat, you seem to have learned a lot." That proved that he was just acting crazy and knew who he was all along. He blinked again and asked, "Who taught you that jutsu?" Naruto also jumped back, and they moved further into the forest. "You're just a stranger, Wise Toad, so stop asking stupid questions. If you give me the things I asked for, we can part ways. Also, the key belongs to me. You just keep it safe." "As for the scroll," Naruto said, "I'm more deserving of it than you are because you couldn't even master the Sage Mode." He was strong, but he didn't take care of himself. He would rather talk to Tsunade, who would be 1,000 times more reliable once he got over his past traumas. And he could not forget that Tsunade was a medical ninja who knew more about medical jutsus than Orochimaru. He thought she could teach him something. "You're acting like a brat now. Looks like I'll have to teach you a little lesson about how to respect your elders." Jiraiya teased him and got ready to catch him while giving him a toothy smile. Naruto wrinkled his nose. This guy was definitely old. "Smart Toad, if you come near me, I'll fight for real. I warn you, if I really wanted to attack Kakashi, even he would back down," Naruto said so. Jiraiya laughed with disdain. It was clear that he hadn't met the new Kakashi yet. Jiraiya jumped at him and, just as Naruto had told him, he did so as he made 50 copies of himself. These rained shuriken and kunais down on the Toad Sage, who covered himself with his hair to make a white wheel that shot thorns in all directions. Even though the clones used body flicker, 2 of them still died. The rest of the clones didn't hesitate. They opened the 4 gates and jumped towards Jiraiya while holding the Rasengan. Jiraiya turned into a cloud of smoke, and 3 clones came out of it. However, Naruto's clones didn't pay attention to them, and their Rasengan slammed into the ground, causing a huge explosion that destroyed many clones and trees nearby because of the power of the 4 gates and the over 40 Rasengan. When the dust settled, Jiraiya was in the middle of a 10-meter wide and 10-meter deep hole, surrounded by a few earthen shields that had cracked and scratched him. He looked at Naruto, who was 50 meters away, as well as the 10 clones that had run out of energy and vanished. Jiraiya looked at him with anger, but Naruto didn't waste any time and made 100 more copies of himself. These copies used the 8 gates and attacked with kunais that were surrounded by wind chakra and could break a tree in half if they touched it. Wise Toad, if you don't give me my things, you'll end up in the hospital, Naruto warned. You spoiled brat, you're so proud, Jiraiya scolded him and stomped on the ground, kicking up dust and rocks to hide. Kurama's perception couldn't be fooled by clones, so Naruto knew he was still there. What he didn't expect was the oil barrier that broke up the dust and came out of the Toad Sage's mouth, followed by fire that spread out over 50 meters in front of him and destroyed 90 clones with a single attack. The other clones left by blinking. Naruto gritted his teeth. That was a brutal and effective area attack. With attacks like that, it was a mistake to try to outnumber him. Naruto's neck thundered, and he opened the 4th gate to start the attack. 5 of the 10 clones went away, and the other 5 jumped into place with him. One of the clones fired shurikens that were covered in chakra and made stronger and faster by the 4th gate. Jiraiya jumped out of the hole to avoid the shurikens, and Naruto and 4 other clones who were attacking met him in the air for a close fight. The Toad Sage had better taijutsu, but there were 5 of them, and when Jiraiya was about to hit one of them with a blunt attack, the shuriken thrower attacked, forcing Jiraiya to move out of the way. Jiraiya soon realized that he couldn't stop it, and even though his taijutsu was better, Naruto's strength and speed with 4 open gates made him lose his advantage. So, he jumped and tried to use his oil and fire technique, but Naruto and the clones blinked, and when they came back, they were already throwing chakra-covered kunais and shurikens. Jiraiya had to stop his technique and spit out a lot of small fireballs, then jump back and throw his own kunais and shurikens, then use his hair to make another spiked attack. After an hour, the Hokage said, and both he and the Toad Sage jumped from the middle of a 30-meter wide open space, where they were burned by fire jutsus and blown up by Rasengan. Naruto looked at the old Hokage, who was watching them from a tree and sighed in disappointment when he saw how bad they had made the area. Naruto's 5 clones who were fighting with him disappeared, and he closed the 4th gate while getting a little out of breath because he was at his limit. On the other hand, the Toad Sage wiped sweat off his forehead, but he looked less tired than Naruto, and it was clear who would win if the fight went on. Naruto grimaced. He knew that his biggest weakness was his physical strength, and his second biggest weakness was his taijutsu. Even though the Toad Sage didn't use his summoning or sage modes, he would have won if these 2 things were on the same level. But he needed the help of the Toad Mom and Toad Dad for the second one, and he didn't think they would help him get the upper hand against a child. The Hokage asked, "Is there something wrong?" Naruto thought that the Anbu told him about the fight. Jiraiya was happy. "There's nothing wrong. I was just trying to teach Naruto a lesson," Jiraiya said with a big smile. Naruto gave a snort. "Go to hell, lessons. You have nothing to teach me, so give me the key to my seal. Tsunade will be the person I learn from if I have to. She can teach me things that are helpful. You also have to give me the Toad Scroll, because I'll be carrying it from now on," Naruto said. "Brat. Said the Hokage, cutting off Jiraiya's angry shout. "Come to my office and we can talk about this." The Hokage warned, "There are strange people in the village right now." Naruto told the Hokage that his father had given him the key to the seal, and Jiraiya had no choice but to give it to him in the Hokage's office. He also said that was what the deal was. But he wasn't willing to give him the Toad Scroll. He said that Naruto would have to sign it and go talk to the Toads in person, and that the Toads would decide whether or not to give him the scroll. Naruto didn't care too much about the scroll, so he agreed to sign it, and they made plans to meet the next day after they had a good night's sleep. One of his clones broke apart at midnight, and Naruto smiled. Hayate wouldn't be happy with him, but Naruto had saved his life. Hayate tried to sneak into one of the hotels where arena people were staying, but a clone guarding the hotel saw him and jumped on him, shouting, "Thief!" at the top of his lungs. This stopped Hayate's plan to spy on the arena people. On the other side, Kabuto ran away quickly, and the sand ninja stuck his head out the window to act like he didn't know what was going on and blame it on Kabuto. The clone just ran away quickly before the guards got there. Hayate came out of the other side cursing Naruto's name, but he had done his job well because he saw Kabuto get away, and the Hokage would find out about that. Naruto got rid of his other clones and went back to sleep, happy that his plan had worked. Naruto was standing in front of Kurama, who was in his cage, but the seal and doors were open. Since Kurama usually just growled at him, Naruto asked, "What's wrong?" Kurama asked, "Do you know what the wise mode is?" Using natural energy to get more power is a given. It's one of the most important things I want to do to get stronger. I also know that Hashirama used it, and that when he used it with his body, he was able to fight as well as one of you, Naruto said. Yes, that jerk took us all captive and then sold us as slaves, Kurama said with a growl. Sage mode, on the other hand, is very dangerous for humans. If you don't learn it, you'll turn to stone, Kurama told him. I know, but the mountain toads have a way to train for sage mode. Since you know how to gather natural energy, you can help me do it once I've mastered it. Then, when I understand how the process works, I'll come up with my own way, Naruto said. Kabuto had solved this problem by making cells that could take in energy from the environment on their own. Well, you don't need training methods if you want to learn. I can teach you, and if you lose control, I can take it because the seal is open and the only thing keeping our chakra apart is our will, Kurama said. Naruto blinked, and then his eye twitched just a little. Naruto growled at Kurama, "The seal has been open for 5 months. How should I have known that you wanted to learn senjutsu?" You never said anything about it, Kurama said with a yawn. Naruto made a face. We'll start training tomorrow, Naruto said with a sigh of helplessness. The Toad Sannin came to his training camp the next day at dusk. Unlike the previous months, he and his army of clones were the only ones there. 1,000 of them trained in Sage Mode, 500 in Taijutsu, another 500 in Chakra Control, and the rest in Chakra Nature Throwing. As usual, Naruto worked out by carrying weights and a backpack full of stones. As he ran around the army of clones, Toad Sannin was running next to him. "Why didn't you show up for our meeting, Naruto?" Jiraiya asked. "Why didn't you want the Toad Scroll?" "I wanted it to practice Sage Mode, but Kurama is already helping me with that, so I'll wait until I'm stronger. Then I'll kick your behind and force you to give me the scroll," Naruto said while still running. The fact that Jiraiya had the Toad Scroll made him feel bad. Naruto liked toads and didn't want to have anything to do with snakes or slugs. He would get rid of any sign that Jiraiya had touched the scroll. Jiraiya gave him an angry look. "Brat, I'm one of the 3 legendary Sannin, on the same level as Tsunade. You should respect me more," Jiraiya said. Naruto looked him over from head to toe. His whole life was a waste. Jiraiya was the jokester of his group. He was never as smart as Orochimaru or Princess Tsunade, who was Orochimaru's granddaughter and a genius in her own right. Jiraiya was in love with Tsunade, but Tsunade looked down on him because he was careless and acted like a whore. He also wasn't strong enough, so Tsunade had to use all of her medical skills and power to save his and Orochimaru's lives. This may have made her age faster than she should have. Jiraiya couldn't stop Orochimaru from leaving the village in the end. He wasn't smart enough or able to do anything to satisfy Orochimaru's desire to learn, which led him astray. Before that, Jiraiya trained Pain, who was then called Nagato, in the hopes of making the world more peaceful. But Nagato became another weapon of war. In fact, he was already a weapon of war when Jiraiya met him, and he also killed him in the end. Jiraiya's job was to get information for the third Hokage and make sure Konoha was safe, but it was a bad job because Konoha was about to be attacked and he wasn't even there. Worst of all, this attack would be done by Orochimaru. After thinking about all of this, Naruto decided that Jiraiya's life had been a total waste. Everything went wrong for him, and he was his last chance, but even that didn't work because Naruto no longer needed him. He was a sad person. Jiraiya asked Naruto, "Brat, why are you looking at me like that?" Naruto sighed and said, "I don't know." "I know you need something to be proud of, Sannin Toad." Just tell me you're my master, and I won't argue. You don't deserve to have so much bad luck. Naruto shook his head in sadness as he ran away. Jiraiya didn't follow him. Instead, he just stood there and looked at him like he was crazy. You child. You're really full of yourself. After a minute, when Jiraiya came out of his daze, he scolded him. He should have been able to hear himself yell from a kilometer away, and the two Anbu who were watching him from behind some trees were shocked. Do you think it will be helpful to carry weights on your back and do exercises in no particular order? During our sparring, I could see that you barely knew what you were doing, and now I know why. I bet that none of your teachers had anything to do with the way you stay fit. In fact, it looks like you just read a book and are now putting what you learned to use. Jiraiya coughed, which made Naruto a little worried. He was right. All he was doing was practicing what he had learned in theory, since he only had one teacher for medical jutsu. They weren't trained by Kakashi. He reluctantly taught him some ideas about taijutsu and a way to do it. Before, Naruto thought he was doing well because of his results, but after he heard Toad Sanin, he began to doubt himself. In another world, you needed a trainer even in a gym if you wanted to get good results. The results are better the better the trainer. Even if you were good at contact sports, you still needed a coach. The boy stopped running. The Toad Sanin ran over to him, and when he saw that his words were working, he proudly crossed his arms and stood next to him. Young man, I'm very busy, but if you get down on your knees and ask me to be your teacher. I'll go look for Tsunade, Naruto said as he walked past him and gave him a hint that he was leaving. The Toad Sanin yelled, "Wait!" in a desperate tone as he put his claws on his shoulders. Brat, Tsunade is a medical ninja. She can't teach you how to train your body, do taijutsu, or use other jutsu. You should choose me if you want a good teacher in this area. Besides, I was just kidding before. You should just bow like everyone else does, the Toad Sanin said. Again, Naruto made a frown. He knew the Toad Sanin was lying about Tsunade because she was an expert in taijutsu, but she was also strong because she knew how to control her chakra. She probably didn't know how to train the body to make it stronger as quickly as possible in the most effective way. As he tightened up, Naruto turned around and looked the Toad Sanin up and down. He wanted to see if Tsunade could really not train him, but she was far away and he needed to get stronger fast. Naruto grimaced, but in the end, he gave up. Sanin Toad, if I don't see results in a month, you're fired, Naruto warned and bowed, clasping his hands together in prayer position to show respect and ask. Please be my master, Sanin Toad, Naruto asked. Done. Stop calling me Sanin Toad, or I'll call you a Toad disciple, said the Toad Sanin. Naruto made a face. Alright, I'll use your real name, with a sigh, Naruto said, and Jiraiya nodded. Naruto called Jiraiya a wise pervert, and Jiraiya's face turned red with anger. You child. It's not up for discussion. I'll stop calling you pervert sage, only when you stop acting like one, said Naruto. Jiraiya said, fine, I'll call you a brat, too, until you stop being a brat. They both nodded in agreement. Alright, now run. Your body is in great shape, but your muscles aren't balanced and aren't trained well. A ninja can't just run, Jiraiya said, tapping the ground with his right hand. Stone pillars rose up around him. Jump from one stone pillar to the next. Your muscles that do that have wasted away. Don't forget to keep your strength in check. You can't hit the pillars or they'll break. Restraint must also be part of your training, because not putting limits on your strength will also make you weak, Jiraiya said. He then made 2 clones that went to where the clones were training to give them advice. Naruto thought what he said made sense, so he ran to the pillars and jumped between them. A month later, the 4th part of the Chunin exams started. Unlike the sudden death, the feudal lords who ran the different countries taking part, the cages of the different villages, and some of the nobility of the place would be invited to this event. The last fight would take place in a huge building that looked like a coliseum but was made of wood instead of stone. The battlefield wouldn't be a platform, but a hilly area with trees all over it. The confrontations would be battles, but who became Chunin wouldn't depend on who won or lost. With their brains, the higher-ups would only look for the best, and the rest would be used as cannon fodder. The winner would be the person who killed the other person or knocked him out. If the opponent gave up, or if the judge, who was still Hayate, said the fight was over and named a winner, it would also be a victory. Hinata! Shouted Naruto when Hinata walked into the fourth room, where the Chunin in training would be introduced. Hinata blushed when Naruto hugged her, but she didn't pull away. "I'm glad to see you're doing well, Naruto," Hinata said. Because he had so much power over his successor, his clan must have still wanted to get rid of him. These guys also liked to sleep with their own relatives, so a relationship with someone who wasn't related to them made them nervous. "Naruto, you need to be good," Sakura told him. Hinata didn't ask Naruto to let her go, but he did anyway because what she did was way too rude to be a joke. Naruto told Sakura, "I heard your opponent died before the tournament." Sakura made a face. Naruto then turned and looked at Gaara. "Brother Panda, you look like you're under a bit of stress. Is someone giving you trouble?" Gaara seemed to be in his own world, so Naruto asked him. When he said that, his sand started to fly everywhere. Gaara gave him an angry look, and his brothers who were standing next to him moved away. But Naruto only moved forward and put his right hand on Gaara's shoulder, or more accurately, on the sand that was protecting it. "Don't worry about anything, Brother Panda. You can now think of me as your big brother." Naruto patted Gaara on the shoulder as Gaara growled like an angry raccoon. "I'll help you with some of your problems, and if you need advice, I think I know more about these things than you do," he told him. Naruto asked him if he had any questions by raising an eyebrow. Gaara growled, "I'll kill you first." Naruto was happy. "Brother Panda, you're too worried, calm down," said Naruto, turning around to go back to Sakura and Hinata, who were looking scared as they watched Gaara's evil aura. "Calm down, the Panda brother is just a little worried," Naruto said as he looked at the other people in the group. Shikamaru, Shino, Tamari, Kankuro, Gaara, Sakura, Hinata, and he himself were all there. Naruto thought Gaara killed Dosu, like in his memories, but Sasuke must have been there because, unlike in his memories, Sasuke didn't need much training and Gaara's defense didn't bother him. Naruto was happy. It looked like the Anbu and Junin were listening to what he said. Naruto asked, "Does anyone know where Sasuke is?" "He's still training with Kakashi-sensei," Sakura said with a pout. Naruto nodded, and a few minutes later, they were told to go out and greet the crowd. People from all the ninja villages and bad guys who had sneaked in were in the stands. Naruto smiled and waved to everyone, and hundreds of people shouted his name and waved back. Hinata and Sakura both blinked. Sakura asked Naruto between her teeth, "Did you pay people to shout your name?" "Don't be silly, I'm well known in this village," Naruto said. He had made 200 copies of himself and disguised them to blend in with the crowd. Sakura's eyes rolled. "I know you've made a lot of money, but you shouldn't waste it, and these people won't pass your test," Sakura told him. Naruto was surprised to hear that he should bribe the judges. "Be quiet. Don't say stupid things," Sakura told her. Hayate told him to be quiet. "Hey, judge, don't scare off the contestants," yelled a fat woman with a very good voice from the audience. Hayate looked around the crowd in a daze as more voices joined hers. Hayate asked, "Did you really hire people, Naruto?" With an angry look in his eyes. "Don't judge, be good." "It's not your place to make accusations out of the blue," Naruto said in a whisper. "If it wasn't for the third Hokage, Naruto." Naruto raised an eyebrow, but Hayate didn't say anything else because he was already mad at him for stopping him from killing himself. After the presentation was over, the crowd yelled for the first match to start, so Naruto and Hinata went into the courtyard. Once Hinata was in place, she gave a respectful salute, and Naruto did the same. "I'm glad this match is against you, Naruto, so I can keep my promise to you and to myself without worrying," Hinata said with a sincere smile after bowing. The fight was ordered by the judge, but she didn't start it. He closed his eyes. When he heard those words, he got a small chill down his back. Naruto said, "Hinata, wait a second. I think we should talk a little more about what you think I expect from you in this match." Hinata was happy. Hinata told Naruto, "You don't have to tell me to do my best. I will do my best on my own." Naruto blinked again and could only look where the other participants were, where Sakura was watching him with a sly smile. Naruto's heart skipped a beat, and he used the body blink to jump 15 meters away. Hinata also jumped and attacked at the same time, but instead of the 5 needles she used against Neji, she used 20. Naruto was only able to avoid them because when Hinata moved her arm, he used the blink. "Hinata, let's take a deep breath. Naruto-kun, you don't have to cheer me up. I'm fine." Hinata cut him off and blinked 3 times so quickly that they left a ghostly image behind. Hinata was very serious, so Naruto thought, "They're clones," and made 20 of them right away. If he kept trying to calm her down and figure out what Sakura had told him to attack as if he were her worst enemy, he would lose hopelessly. The copies of him opened 4 doors and shot at the real Hinata. "I need Sage Mode right now," Naruto yelled in his head. "You're making a big deal out of nothing. This girl can't hurt you with those little needles." Hinata's hand let out a bolt of lightning, which took out 10 clones and made the rest jump. The rest of the clones could only avoid the clone needles by blinking several times and moving as fast as the 4 gates. When it came to hitting the mark, the Hyuga eyes were terrible. The clones were just in the way, of course. The lightning bolt that went through the field and hit the walls, making a hole and cracking them, was meant for him. Naruto had only lived because he fell to the ground at the right time. Kurama screamed, "Run for your lives, this girl is crazy." Of course, Naruto was already running, making 20 more clones, and barely avoiding a second lightning bolt that opened a small tunnel where he had been before. The Kyuubi also knew this was a big deal and helped him gather natural energy. In 2 seconds, half of his clones were swept away, and he and the other half went into Sage Mode. They were able to easily sense the chakra needles and avoid them because Sage Mode made them stronger physically. Naruto yelled at Hinata, "You almost killed me." He had no idea that Hinata would be the first person to put his life in danger. Hinata was happy. "Thank you," Hinata said shyly and excitedly, as if he had given her a great compliment. The crowd went crazy over Hinata's amazing technique, and Naruto thought it was also because he had just barely made it out alive. "Naruto, you have a lot of strength. I didn't think I could use my chakra needles without killing someone in this tournament, but Sakura is right. Naruto, you're the strongest. Even if I hit you with all my strength, you'll be fine." "But I'm not going to give up," Hinata said. "I'll show you that I can win." How cute, Naruto thought. That meant that Sakura had used the fact that she trusted him to make Hinata work harder in this tournament. "Knock it off, give up, or I'll kill that girl with brute force. The way she does it is very dangerous, and the way chakra works makes it hard to heal. If she hits us, we'll be out of commission for hours, and your whole plan will be ruined," said Kurama, who seemed to already know some of his curse words. Naruto looked for the judge in the courtyard and found him hiding behind a tree. He looked scared of the lightning needles, too. "What do you think?" Naruto asked Hinata as he thought about his plan. Hinata had already seen how fast he was and was standing 50 meters away from him without throwing needles while she thought of a better plan. "You're the ninja," Kurama said. "All I can do is lend you my strength, but I guess you don't want to use it." "I'll soon use it. This is just a practice match, but your natural energy is already helping me. With my heightened senses in Sage Mode, I can easily avoid Hinata's needles from at least 10 meters away. But if I get closer, every meter I move forward gives her the upper hand, and if I get a lightning needle at point-blank range, we're done," Naruto said. "Even if you try to use the clones as a shield, the lightning needles will go right through them." Naruto grimaced and took out a kunai. He covered it with his wind chakra nature and threw it hard at Hinata, making it move as fast as a blink of an eye. Hinata reached up and just barely caught the kunai. It had a small bounce as it hit her hand. What the hell did he do? Kurama yelled. What the hell did he do? He used the soft fist on the kunai, which changed the way the chakra worked and was even used to weaken it. The Hyuga are experts at controlling chakra, so I thought this would be a good way for her to defend herself if she was attacked with objects that were powered by chakra or had the same kind of chakra as her needles, in case her clan was trying to copy her. Well, if you were going to kill yourself with her help, I think you've done it, Kurama said with sarcasm. Hinata said with pride, I just recently mastered that. I worked very hard at it. Naruto thought, she's an angel, when he saw her smile. Stop messing around and just ram her with my chakra. She won't be able to handle the speed of Sage Mode plus my power, Kurama said. Hinata threw the kunai aside. Naruto took out 5 more kunai as his clones moved to the right and started an attack called a curtain attack. Hinata took the Hyuga Taijutsu stance and hit the kunais as if they were the enemy's fists, causing them to lose speed and explode in small ways that pushed them back. She also took a step back, not because she had to but because she wanted to make sure she could deal with the kunais easily. Again, the crowd roared as they watched the defensive show. Hinata also made sure to keep the wall behind her, and she did this even though Naruto was attacking her from the side and trying to pull her away so he could surround her with his clones. When Naruto called up another 10 clones, she attacked again, pushing them back and getting back to where she was before. She destroyed 5 clones that came too close. She won't miss within a radius of 5 meters, said Naruto, and his clones took up positions in a semicircle. Naruto, she's going to kill you, don't do it. Sakura shrieked with concern from the fighter's stand as she understood his plan. Hinata, it was a joke, you're too strong. I only said that so you wouldn't let Naruto win, cried Sakura, admitting her scheming, before Hinata sent him to the other neighborhood, thinking he was an invincible being. But Hinata laughed. Naruto won't give up, and neither will I, said Hinata, and she and her 2 clones moved into launching position. Judge, stop the fight. Sakura shrieked as he lunged, but Hinata and he were only 50 meters away, and with the speed of Sage Mode, before she finished speaking, the fight had already been decided. Hinata released her lightning needle when he came within range, as did her 2 clones. The needles swept everything in front of them, and Naruto carried Hinata in his arms as she fell to the ground, after he tapped her neck from behind her back. 2 of his clones did the same move with Hinata's clones, and then disappeared along with them, leaving them both alone. Naruto, you really are very strong, said Hinata with a big smile, as her body lay limp in his arms. You fool, you almost killed your future husband. Naruto laughed again and looked at Hayate. Hayate, seeing that the fight was over, ran to the front and looked disgustedly at the 3 deep holes made by the last 3 lightning needles. Hayate said, Naruto wins. People didn't understand how he was still alive and how he had been able to knock Hinata out from behind if he had been attacking her from the front. The Hokage is too good to you, Hayate let out a sigh as he walked past her. He did know the jutsu that Naruto had used to sneak past Hinata. Naruto was happy. It looked like they had also been complaining about what they thought were their rights. Naruto, could you please put me down? Hinata stuttered and spoke in a shy way. Naruto nodded and gently touched her on the neck to help her get up slowly. You really are strong, Hinata, Naruto told her. He didn't think any of those old Hyuga men could stand up to the lightning needle or dodge a lot of normal needles like Hinata had. Thanks, Naruto, but my body is too slow. Hinata said, I need to train more. He closed his eyes. Except for Guy, no one else would be fast enough to catch her off guard. But Naruto didn't say anything because he knew she needed a push. Hinata gave him a farewell wave to show that the fight was over, and he did the same. The crowd cheered as they both walked away. Hinata Hyuga will marry Naruto Uzumaki, yelled the fat lady in charge of her group of flatterers, and the others repeated what she said. The Hyuga present scolded the fat lady, and the thousands of Naruto fans in the room yelled at the Hyuga present and called them bullies for messing with them. As a fight broke out in the stands, which the guards had to stop, Naruto walked over to the participants' park and smiled when he saw Shikamaru and Shino fanning Sakura while she was passed out on the ground. Shikamaru looked like he was upset. Hinata rushed to hold Sakura in his arms, and Naruto shook his head. Naruto reached down and touched her forehead to send chakra to her brain and wake her up. Sakura suddenly woke up, and when she saw Naruto, she gave him a hug. "You're alive," Sakura said, happy. Naruto patted her back and said, "I hope you learned your lesson." "Hey, what was that jutsu? How did you show up behind Hinata's back?" asked Shikamaru. Shino looked at the other people in the arena to show Shikamaru they weren't alone. "Behind her back, I called myself by using the kunais I threw earlier," Naruto said. Shikamaru shut his eyes. Tamari couldn't hold back her curiosity, so she asked, "How do you call yourself?" Sakura quickly got to her feet and gave Tamari a threatening look. Sakura growled, "Why do you want to know?" Tamari held her fan and Sakura showed her fists, but Gaara walked up to them and gave them a cold look, stopping their fight. Gaara left the room, and Tamari and Sakura sighed. "How can you work with someone like that?" Sakura asked Gaara after making sure he couldn't hear her. Naruto groaned. Everyone looked at Naruto like he was crazy when he asked, "Am I the only one who thinks he's a cute kid?" Naruto said, "He has cute red hair, eyes like pandas, a round face, is kind of bald, and is short." Hinata said in a shy way, "He sounds cute." "Well, I thought he was kind of cute when I first met him," Sakura said. "But after that, he got a little scary," she said. "Don't believe that. The panda brother was just under too much stress," Naruto said as he watched Gaara leave the building and go into his arena, which was the courtyard outside. Gaara looked down on him when he got to his spot, and Naruto smiled at him with all his teeth showing. Gaara ground his teeth together. Tamari said, "I don't know how you're still alive. It's just that the panda brother still doesn't know if I'm making fun of him or trying to be his friend," Naruto said. "You're crazy," Tamari told her. "And what are you trying to do?" Shikamaru asked. "Brother Panda and I are both trying to reach the same goal, but he doesn't know it yet. When we can talk to each other, that's when we'll understand each other," Naruto said in a serious tone. As Naruto thought, Sasuke's fight did not happen. However, the judges did not disqualify him because Orochimaru, who was dressed as the Kazekage, and one of the feudal lords, who seemed to be working with him, helped him. Gaara got mad and went back to the box. Then it was Kankuro and Shino's turn. Shino wanted to fight, but Kankuro gave up before he even got to the arena. This made Shikamaru hate him, since it was now his turn. Shikamaru's fight was long because Tamari liked to plan her moves and didn't want to get caught in Shikamaru's shadow jutsu, which she had already seen in sudden death fights. Shikamaru took cover behind a tree while the fight went on, and Tamari was scared of the shadow that almost caught her when she got close. In his memories, Shikamaru used a gap in the fighting ground to catch Tamari, but in this situation, the gaps were not connected and were in the middle of the area. After trying for a long time and failing, Shikamaru finally threw a few kunais, which Tamari dodged or pushed away with her fan. She didn't seem to understand Shikamaru's plan until she saw the kunais behind her. When she saw them, she panicked and ran away from them. Shikamaru jumped out from behind the tree at that exact moment and attacked, making a situation similar to the last fight between Naruto and Hinata. This made Naruto smile. Tamari was pale from shock, and she paid most of her attention to the kunais around her because she thought Shikamaru would do what he did and move toward one of them to attack her. As Shikamaru lunged, he threw more kunais, and Tamari, who was expecting an attack from behind, didn't dare wave her fan to make a gust of wind that would leave her open to a close attack. She just used her fan as a shield, and the two kunais bumped into each other. Even though Tamari kept her senses sharp, she found that she couldn't move. Naruto gave a headshake. She got tricked, as did the crowd and the judges outside the village, who saw the same scene and thought they knew what would happen. But the JNIN and elders of Konoha, who knew which jutsu Naruto had used, knew Shikamaru was just bluffing and couldn't move behind Tamari. When Tamari saw that the last string of kunai Shikamaru threw was tied with a string that cast a line of shadow towards her, she groaned a lot. But she didn't pay enough attention to the kunais because she thought Shikamaru was going to move behind her or to the side to catch her. She thought they were a way to get Shikamaru to stop coming toward her. She also didn't use the wind from her fan, which would have sent the kunais flying and stopped Shikamaru from coming closer. People were shocked that Shikamaru had tricked them all, and they were waiting anxiously to see what he would do next. Shikamaru, on the other hand, just walked to the middle of the courtyard and quit after a long fight. Well done, Shikamaru, you hit her right in the heart. She won't be able to resist, said the fat lady in charge of the Naruto fans. Hundreds of Naruto fans yelled, Shikamaru and Tamari, together forever. They made such a racket that Shikamaru couldn't explain why he had done what he did. The rest of the crowd could also see that a boy who liked a girl gave the girl the victory just to get her attention. Some people booed Shikamaru and called him a blind idiot, but most people gave him a thumbs up and supported him for not giving up on his impossible love for a ninja from another village. Shikamaru and Tamari were both red-faced when they got back to the participants' park. Naruto gave them a thumbs up, which made them both angry. Naruto looked at Gaara, who was suspiciously looking at Tamari. Tamari said, "There's nothing between us." He fell in love on his own. Her body shook a little bit. Sakura told Tamari, "Hey, have some compassion. Shikamaru has stood up for you in front of many people." She then pointed her thumb at Shikamaru and told him to follow his heart. Shikamaru looked around, trying to find a way out of the situation, while Tamari bit her lip in frustration. But the crowd kept yelling their names, and some of them wanted to change the result and give Shikamaru the win. They also wanted to punish him in a way that would teach him to take village business seriously and look for a girlfriend somewhere else. The fight about Shikamaru's supposed foul kept the judges talking for a long time. Every time they tried to say what the outcome was, the crowd got angry. Gaara, Tamari, and Kankuro were getting more and more tense, and Sakura, Shikamaru, Hinata, and Shino were watching them carefully because they didn't know what was going on.
So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.